What's up, guys? Firefang92 here for news of the week, kinda. So I missed last week's news of the week because 4th of July and I was doing stuff. Well, I apologize for that. And in the interim between when I would usually do it and now when I'm recording the video, a lot of news happened, including the majority of the reveal of everything in the Token Ranbu set. And we're getting an American release date, so Sword Boys. And we also got a monthly Bushi. So there was just way too much to compact into 1 week, so I figured what I'd do is I'd split it, and at the end of this week, for the news of the week for this week, I'll be talking about everything in the Token Ranbu set, because hopefully it's completely revealed by then. We're still missing, like, the Generation Rare, and I think 2 or 1 Triple Rare. So a couple of potentially very important things that I wouldn't want to miss out on. And today I'm just going to talk about everything you've seen out of BTO4. Because there was a lot of that in the monthly Bushi, and a couple of things I've missed in the past weeks talking about Token Ranbu, so sorry about that. Yeah, I guess we'll just... the best place to start is probably with Black Slice Harut, I believe. Heart, something. It's a Generation Break 1 for Angel Feather, and this is your Amber clone. So, Counterblast 1, when it's boosted, yada yada. Look at 2 cards from the top of your deck, search for up to 1 among them, put it face up in your damage zone, and then choose a face-up card from your damage zone, and call it to rear guard. It's not bad. It's not great, especially for an Amber clone. They probably could have said, like, and give it +2, because I think that's what Gold Paladin 1 does. But yeah, it's a much less consistent call than, say, Maka or Knight of Twin Sword. So, sorry, Angel Feather players. It'll come back around to you. Trust me. So, next thing I'm going to talk about is Goddess of the Skies Dione. Stride for Genesis, your single rare stride in the set. What she does is Soul Blast 3. When the attack hits a Vanguard, look at 3 cards from the top of your deck, search for 1 among them, put it into your hand, and put the rest into the soul. So, that's very good if you hit. It's basically Soul Blast 1 for a high quality plus. Because, well, you get to choose from the top 3, so that's, and put it into your hand. So that's it. Just the only thing more quality than that would be searching your entire deck for something to put into your hand. But that's definitely good. And single rare strides usually perfect guarded. But yeah, just sort of take the effect with a grain of salt, because you're eventually going to be switching probably to the, what do they call it, like Vanguard, or the actual stride for Genesis. Next up, we got Witch of Treasured Books Adra. Shadow Paladin, grade 2, common. During your turn, if you have a Vanguard with Witch in its name and the number grade 0 rear guards your opponent has 2 or more, this gets 2k power, and when its attack hits Vanguard, unflip 1, soul charge 1. That's That's nice. I mean, uh, 11k attackers are good. And as I recall, witches did have a pretty big counterblast issue. So, getting the unflip, it's nice. Unfortunately, as I recall, they also have pretty tight grade 2 space. But, you know, if you need it, you need it. Don't argue with it. Witch of Whitehair is Cardamom. Now, this one's a Genesis Witch. And what she does is she's Witch of Ravens, but only if you have a Witch Vanguard, and she gets +2. So that's really nice because Witch of Ravens is really nice. And it's been a big tool of Genesis for a while now. And the +2 just means that if you don't have the Witch of Frogs, or if they get another one that gives itself +2 as well, as a grade 1, if you don't have anything like that, you can still call it out as an attacker. And you get an extra attacker, instead of just having to hope there's a rear guard to swing at. I mean, not much to say there. It's a tried and true tested formula. Next up, Machining Firefly. Yes! I am celebrating right now because this is a machining crit trigger. Oh, I've been waiting since set 15 for one of these. So we've got a machining crit, which means finally machinings are going to be able to play the way they want to be able to play. And it actually has a pretty decent effect. When it's placed on rearguard, counterblast 1 if you have a machining vanguard. Stand one of your rear guards and choose one of your opponent's rear guards, and it cannot stand during the next stand phase. So, oh, and you don't return it to the deck or anything. That's kinda maybe not as good because it's a trigger, but at the same time, you don't get a draw or anything off the effect, so better not to minus yourself. But it accommodates the way the deck's playing right now, because right now you're playing with your Stag Beetles and your War Sickles in order to get the maximum use out of, what's his name? Destroyer. So you can ride your Stag Beetle, stand up a rear guard with this, and use your Destroyer, and in that turn you've counterblasted 2, stunned 2 rear guards and a vanguard, and gotten 2.5 to 3 full attacks. So, really nice turn. Yeah, machining crit, that's all I have to say, really. Invert Celestial Asbiel. Obviously, it's an Angel Feather, it's crit. It's in the damage zone. If you Vanguard, it's a Celestial. Put it on top of your... Oh, I thought it said put it face up on top of your deck. Put this face up card on top of your deck, so if it's face up in the damage zone. Shuffle your deck, look at the top 3, choose one not named itself, put it into the damage zone face up, and then put the rest in the drop zone. So, I think there's been like a few cards doing this nowadays where instead of shuffling the other cards back into the deck, they put it in the damage zone. Kinda helpful if you're playing a Legion deck. Otherwise, kinda speeds up deck out, but I'm not sure which decks have to be worried about that as of yet, because you didn't get any effect like that in Dark Irregular. And the only other clans that are classically prone to deck out are OTT and uh, Grand Blue. And with Grand Blue, an effect like that would just say, look at the top three, put one into the drop zone, then put the other ones into the drop zone. So it'd kind of be pointless. But, you know, we'll see. I don't think Angel Feather will have to worry about decking out anytime soon. Straight Jewel Knight Bartom. Royal Paladin crit, obviously. At the end of your turn, when he's on rearguard, if you have a Jewel Knight Vanguard and you have 3 or more other Jewel Knights, draw a card and shuffle them back into the deck. Also nice. I don't think this alone will push anyone to play pure Jewel Knight, because I mean, maybe he'll get teched in because people are already playing, you know, Jewel Knight triggers and a bunch of Jewel Knight generic stuff in Royals nowadays, because Sword Me is just that good. So maybe like turn 2, if you're sitting on Sword Me or something, you can get a little bit of use out of this. It's not that impressive a card to begin with, because what are you going to draw that's better than 10k shield? But it's a crit, so obviously there's potential for it to be used. Moving on to the monthly bushy stuff. I should stop saying we'll start with Clumsy Celestial Batriel. Batariel? I don't know. I can't pronounce things. It legions with Legion 20k, obviously. Dosage Celestial Osmodiel, who Osmodiel is a demon, so Osmodel is an angel, Osmodiel is a demon. Maybe it's one of those Lucifer situations. Anyway, who is the promo legion. So you can, if you're just playing that deck, you can just go ahead and throw this in and have another kinda useful backup. Or it has a dual legion, Seizing Celestial Hyel, who's okay. We'll talk about her in just a second. When it legions, put the top card of your deck into the damage, choose one of your face-up damage and call it to rearguard. Then if you have a card in the damage with the same name as the card of the Vanguard, so Celestial stuff, the called unit gets 5k. Not bad, not great. +1 with a little bit of power, but only on Legion. I mean, could be worse. This is probably an R anyway. And when it's placed on Vanguard, look it up to 3 cards from the top of your deck, put one in the damage zone, put the rest in the drop zone, and heal a card in your damage zone. So, again, another card that looks at 3 and then it puts them in the drop. I mean, don't play like too many of those or you're just asking to deck out, but again, it shouldn't be an issue with like just a few. So, her other potential mate, Seizing Celestial Hyel. When this unit attacks Vanguard, if you have Vanguard Celestial in its name, it gets +2k power. It's kind of an interesting thing they're doing, making 11k attackers for subclans. I don't know what to say about that. Nice independent attackers that are always good. Then if you have a card with the same name as a card on your Vanguard in your damage zone, it gets, when its attack hits, unflip 1, soul charge 1. Really, I wouldn't use it unless you do need the additional attacker, because Angel Feather are already so good on damage. Why bother? And I can't foresee needing the soul. Next up we got Crimson Lore Metatron. not a Revival Legion like some people were thinking. Also not a Crossride like some people were thinking. It's... I don't know what to call it. Actually, I do know what to call it. Bad. It's bad. So, Limit Break 4. So, it's got Limit Break again, but you did get a Limit Break enabler in the set for Celestials. I think it's like Candle Celestial or something. Whatever. Just summon K, and they will see your Limit Break 4. Add a common. Choose one of your rear guards, put it in the damage zone, choose a card in your damage zone, call it to rear guard, and then if you have a card named Crimson Impact Metatron in your soul, so it works off of having the original one in the soul. So it's kind of like, what's that card? Enigman Tornado or something? No, not Tornado. The new one from the extra booster that everyone was like, oh, it's going to be a Revival Legion, but it wasn't. It was just a superior ride for the original one. Anyway, if you have Crimson Impact in your soul until the end of the turn, the unit you call gets 3k power, and counterblast 1, put it into the damage zone. When this unit attacks a Vanguard, you may pay the cost. If you do, choose a face-up card from your damage zone and put it into your hand. So, I wouldn't foresee you hitting that often, because people don't like you hiding your important cards in the damage zone, and they don't like you adding your perfect cards back. But I mean that's kind of nice, but it does require you to be playing Crimson Impact Metatron and this. At that point, just throw your deck away. It's garbage. Then Crimson Lore also has choose one of your rear guards and put it into soul. So I might as well say choose Crimson Impact Metatron and put it into your soul. And then choose a card from your soul, put it into the damage zone. Choose a card from the damage zone, call it to rear guard. So again, kind of it was what Crimson Impact did, but you got to do this little two-step first, which that might affect some of the combo potential, but it's not like that much different. Boring card is boring. Next up, Witch of Melon's Time. When it's placed on rearguard, it's a Genesis, by the way, Witch of Melons, because, you know, Shadow Paladins don't do fruit, apparently. If you have a Vanguard with Witch in its name, look at 3 cards from the top of your deck, search for one among them, put it into soul, put the rest in the drop. So, specific soul charging, which is nice, especially for Genesis, where you have things like Norn and Witch of Cardamom. Witch of what was she, like books or something? I don't know. Cardamom or Witch of Ravens, etc., etc. Search for those, put them in your soul, use them later. That's simple. Then we got Witch Familiar Shiroma. By the way, we're getting like a lot of sub-clan reveals, which yeah, we're probably gonna run out of these pretty soon, because they have been doing only like 3 or so sub-clan specific cards, and then the rest non-sub-clan for the G-sets. But if they're going back towards sub-clans, that's an interesting way to go, and I'd be welcome to it. I mean, I like sub-clans. Anyway, so what Shiroma does is put it on the deck, shuffle your deck. If you have Vanguard with Witch in its name, draw a card, look up 3 cards from the top of your deck, search for one among them, put it into the soul, put the rest in the drop. So it's time, but with the exception that it turns itself into a different card. Again, Soul Charger specific stuff. Nice. Holy Seraph Raziel. Soul Blast 2. When this unit is placed on Vanguard, you may pay the cost. If you do, put all cards in your damage zone into your deck, shuffle your deck, and for each card put into the damage zone that way, put a card from your deck face up in your damage zone. So, it's a stride, by the way. That's pretty huge. 5 unflips means you can use fucking all the counterblast effects you want in the deck without having to worry about potentially running out ever, because you can always just stride into this guy and unflip 5. And the amount of combo potential that this card has is just absolutely fantastic. Get your million rays, your 1,000 rays out on the field, buff them up by, I think it's 10 each, or is it 15 each? I forget if they add 3 or 2. But anyway, either way, that's either a 36 or 46 row. So you really can't complain at that point. But yeah, huge combo potential, massive unflips allow for wider arrays of deck building. This is just a absolutely terrific card. It does have some small downside that you will remove anything that you had specifically put in the damage zone to use, because, you know, angels, especially celestials, have to put like specific cards in the damage zone to fetch them later, or else put the Vanguard in the damage zone so that you can activate effects. And this will disrupt that, but at the point that you're putting 5 back in, you should get at least like one thing you want. Also, if it wasn't an auto, that would have been nice, because it would have meant that you could use the Crimson Nurse Winds and give it a ton of power, and then bounce them all back and get things face up, which would have been cool. But, you know, you can't get everything you want. You can't always get what you want. You can't. Anyway, Forethought Gearbox. So, you remember how everyone was like, Gear Chronicles the Silent Tom fan? Well, now we have Silent Tom. He's a grade 1 though, which kind of disrupts it just a little bit. But it's just Silent Tom's effect. When he attacks, your opponent can't call grade 0s from hand to Guardian Circle. End of story. 6k. So base -2, like Tom. It's a little less convenient with him being a 6k. Because it's harder to make those 16 rolls. Yeah, 16 rows, which will force 2 cards out of the opponent's hand. You do still have your Mist Geysers and your Gear Wolves to turn it into a 16k row. And you can always just stack triggers, which is nice, especially with strides. Because that means that, you know, if you get 2 triggers, you're still in over 21 row with the Silent Tom effect. And the important thing here is that he has no cost, because Counterblast comes at a premium in Gear Chronicle, Soul Blast comes at a premium in Gear Chronicle. So having that Tom effect without having to pay for it makes the clan just that much more tight, that much more well designed. Grade 1 space is a little tough in Gear Chronicle, but I can definitely foresee this guy getting a place in a lot of decks, because it's a free Silent Tom. Especially anything that likes to abuse Misgeyser and Gearwolf for big power. If you're playing with a lot of Pegasuses like I am, you can definitely throw this guy in even at just a tech spot, and eventually you'll throw him in front of a Misgeyser and just, free Silent Tom at 32 at that point. You can't really argue with it. That's all I can say, really. Sorry, I guess, that this video involved a lot of just me being bored because I don't like Angels or Genesis. But machinings are coming, which I'm going to love. Next week I'll be talking about the Token Ranbu, which I'm very excited for. So, stay tuned. Firefang92,